friends, welcome to Technique. This is Nirmal here, and in this video we're going to do a detailed camera review of the Redmi Note 10s. So Redmi Note 10s is the latest budget offering priced below 15,000 price segment in India, and it comes with a 64 megapixel quad camera setup along with a 13 megapixel selfie camera. So let's find out how the camera performs in this price segment. So before getting into the detailed camera review, if this is your first time on this channel, do hit that red subscribe button and also hit the bell icon to get notified of all the videos we publish. So let's begin. In terms of camera hardware, the phone comes with a 64 megapixel sensor with f1.8 aperture. The details of the sensor are not known as it is sourced from multiple vendors. There is an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle lens, a third 2 megapixel macro sensor and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. The front camera is a 13 megapixel shooter with f2.45 aperture. So let's find out how the camera performs. First up, the daylight shots. In terms of daylight, the 64 megapixel sensor does a decent job in bringing details and sharpness levels. The colors are good and they look natural and no saturation issues. The images aren't as good as the ones on the Redmi Note 10 Pro, which also comes with a 64 megapixel sensor. The sharpness levels are quite okay, but at times you can see images getting over sharpened and there is no consistency in the images, and this is evident when you pixel peep. The dynamic range is once again pretty average considering that it has a 64 megapixel sensor. In terms of daylight, we feel this isn't the best we have seen in this price segment and Xiaomi could have done better in terms of overall quality. The 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera does a decent job in maintaining colors similar to the primary camera, and it succeeds in that as well. The colors are pretty much natural, but sharpness levels and details are strictly average and could have been better. Now moving on to the close-up shots, the phone comes with pretty good imaging capabilities and the colors are natural here too. Previously, Redmi devices have had a tendency to saturate colors, but here we do not see that happen. The sharpness levels are quite good, although it is not as good as the Redmi Note 10 Pro. The phone has a 2 megapixel macro sensor, which does a good job in bringing details, but once again not as good as the Redmi Note 10 Pro. Now moving on to the portraits. The Redmi Note 10 Pro gets you good portrait shots, and one of the good things about Redmi devices is that they don't add unnecessary beauty mode, and hence the skin tones are natural and brings in good details. The edge detection is also quite good and overall portraits have come quite good. Next up, the low light captures. This is one area where the Redmi Note 10s disappoints big time. In indoor lights and with adequate artificial lights, the phone does a decent job in bringing details. When light drops further, you can see noise kicking in and this becomes way too noisy at extreme low light. The overall quality is average at its best. There is night mode on offer, and this is one area where there seems to be some issues in processing and it makes the images like watercolor or painting, and we wouldn't recommend using the night mode. We are not sure if this is an issue with our unit, but we tried multiple times and the results were same. So overall, low light was disappointing on the Redmi Note 10s. Now finally, the selfie camera. The 13 megapixel shooter does a good job with selfies. The skin tones are natural and you can turn off the beauty mode. The sharpness levels and the dynamic range is also good. Since selfies are more of a personal choice, you can judge based on the images shown. The phone also has portrait mode for selfies, and here it does a decent job with edge detection, if not the best. Now moving on to the video recording. The phone can record 4K at 30 fps and the quality is good. The sharpness levels are acceptable and details are good, but the disappointing aspect is the lack of stabilization being offered. The phone also supports 1080p at 60 fps. Here once again, while the video quality looks good, there is no stabilization offered and hence it is not recommended for moving shots. The 1080p at 30 fps supports stabilization, but here the quality isn't great and the bitrate isn't good and details are just okay. The stabilization is good and so is the colors. The sharpness levels are acceptable and quality is just average. The phone also comes with 1080p video recording for ultra wide angle lens, and once again it has stabilization. While the quality is not as good as the primary sensor for obvious reasons, it does a decent job overall. The phone also has macro video recording, and while the quality isn't as good as the Redmi Note 10 Pro for obvious reasons, it is quite acceptable in quality. The phone also supports slow motion at 120, 240 and 960 fps at 720p resolution, and the quality is strictly average. So this is the front facing camera sample taken with the Redmi Note 10s. So you can judge yourself how good the clarity of the video is and also the audio outputs from the front camera. So that is the detailed camera review of the Redmi Note 10s. So summing up, the camera on the Redmi Note 10s is strictly average and we wouldn't recommend this for anyone looking for a camera smartphone in this price segment. Having said that, this isn't an entirely bad experience and things can be improved with software updates and we expect Xiaomi to work on it. But as of now, we would suggest you to pick the Redmi Note 10 Pro or even the Redmi Note 10, which would make a better choice in terms of camera compared to the Redmi Note 10s. So that is a detailed camera review of the Redmi Note 10s. So what do you guys think about the camera? Do share in your thoughts in the comment section. This is Nirmal signing off. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you in our next video. Have a great day.